People in our own backyards are hurting. There are insecurities around food, economics, mental health, access to justice, healthcare, and our society continues to become more divisive. But there is hope. Right here in Chicagoland, there are people and organizations who are on the front lines, working to bring about positive and transformative change. Each week, we're going to meet some of these agents of change and examine how they are spurring innovative ideas and finding solutions to push our society forward in a more just direction. I'm Sufyan Sohel, and this is Change Agents. Language barriers, lack of employment opportunities, housing, access to medical services, transportation, navigating cultural nuances, raising children in education, domestic violence, prejudice, and hate. These are some of the barriers faced by refugees and immigrants once they arrive to our city and to our country. Each year, millions of people around the world leave their homelands to travel to other countries. Many are fleeing war, hunger, famine, and persecution. Others are seeking better job or educational opportunities and the chance to build a better life for themselves and their families. Once they arrive, they often face roadblock after roadblock on their path towards their American dream. Our first guest today runs an organization that provides services that help facilitate the adjustment, integration, and friendship of our immigrants with the wider Chicagoland community. Her organization's mission is to nurture immigrants' sense of community and to help foster an appreciation for the rich cultural diversity found in our city. I am so pleased to have with me tonight Angie Lobo, the Executive Director of the Indo-American Center. Angie, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. Angie, we were talking earlier and laid out so many issues faced by the recent immigrant community and those who may have come even a generation earlier. Mm-hmm. Can you paint me a little picture of what those issues are?
Yeah, I think one thing that's important to remember is that the immigrant community is not a monolith. The Asian community in Chicago is 7% of the population. But Asian countries make up 60% of the world. And so when you break down that 7%, it involves a ton of different people from different cultures, different religions. So one of the challenges that we face is really being able to get the word out and explain that there are different needs in the community, that there are different language barriers, that there are different access issues, and that whether you come from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, that there are specific needs to different communities. So we've been working really hard to try to get that word out and spread the word that this is a very diverse community. And of course, some of the immediate issues we're facing are access to language access, figuring out how to navigate difficult bureaucracies that are very different, and also, of course, immigration status issues.
Thank you. Are you dealing primarily with an Asian community at the Indo-American Center?
Yeah, so we're located at California and Devon, so that's the Westridge neighborhood that's commonly known as Little India. I think one of the things that we have found is that the migration patterns have changed. So, there was an initial wave of folks coming over from South Asia in the late 60s, early 70s, and many of them first moved to the Devon area and then moved out to the suburbs, right? Well, now those families are settled in the suburbs, and so the new wave that's coming over sometimes bypasses Devon completely and is moving directly out into Schaumburg, Niles, Des Plaines, some of these close northwest side suburbs. So those suburbs don't always have the same resources that the Westridge community had. So while we're still about 50% of our clients are from the Westridge neighborhood, another 50% is from the northwest suburbs that are coming in. They hear from their family, oh, you just got here? You should pop over to Indo-American Center and see what they can help you with. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. We'll get to what you can help with in a little bit. I'm curious, though, are there issues faced by the Asian and South Asian community that may be different than people from Mexico or from Africa?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that is surprising actually is the similarities in what people are facing. So there are a lot of model minority myths, right?
Sure.
So all Asians are great in school, get straight A's, are high earners, right? But the reality is that the Indian community has the largest income inequality of any ethnic group. So yes, we have the highest achievers, the highest earners, but we also have some of the lowest earners. And in fact, we just did a survey of our clients, and over 50% of our clients are living in poverty. And we already know that the poverty level is defined as a really low amount. So, so there are actually some similarities in just the immigrant experience that I think is assumed that the South Asian community doesn't face. Something else that's really challenging for the community is that we actually have a high number of undocumented folks that are South Asian. So India,
and people don't know that, right?
people do not know that.
Tell us a little bit more
Yeah,
about that.
so India is the second largest country of origin for undocumented folks in Illinois. After Mexico.
Okay.
So it's Mexico, India. So the number is very different, right? It's a much larger number from Mexico,
Sure.
but India is the second highest at around 33,000. I think that number is very undercounted, but of course I don't have the, but just based on what we've seen and what we know in the community, it's very hidden and hard to get that accurate number. But that's the number that's out there right now as of like 2019.
33,000.
Yeah.
Why is that so shocking? Is it because is the Indian community and the South Asian community treat undocumented issues differently than other communities?
So I think so. I think what we used to see is with folks who were undocumented, they had overstayed their visa. And that was the...
Elderly, maybe?
Yeah, right, or maybe elderly, but maybe like a young person that came on a student visa and overstayed, or maybe a family member that came on a tourist visa and overstayed, right? So that was what we had sort of known. And there was a lot of judgment around that because you could come here the right way, right? Because somebody else did, right? If a family member sponsored you, then why couldn't you just wait and follow the rules like that person did? Regardless of if the rules are fair or not, right? Or, so that I think has been the understanding in the community for a long time. What we've been finding at Indo-American Center, which has been surprising to us, and it really picked up sort of like right before COVID, and then it's been picking up after COVID, is that we're actually finding families that are crossing the border, either Mexico or Canada.
Really?
I don't know if you remember that story from last winter of the family who was crossing the border from Canada and actually froze to death in their cars. And they were coming to Chicago. They had family here.
So they're migrating to Canada or Mexico and then trying to cross the border.
Yeah, yeah. And that is a new story that has not really been talked a lot about.
Is it because the process to get immigration to the United States is so long and cumbersome?
It can be long and cumbersome. It also is that it's families that are crossing, right? Oh. So that's part of it too, is you could maybe split up your family and one person could come and wait years for the other person, but if the family wants to all go together, that is an option that people are
I know when my parents got married in the 70s, it took months for my mom to follow my dad.
Yeah.
But now it's 6, 7, 8 years.
Well, yeah, I know when my mother-in-law came over in 1976, she was here for almost 2 years by herself before she was able to bring over her husband and her daughter. Okay. So I think there's also one thing that's happening is that the Asian immigration, the Asian community is the largest immigrant. It's the fastest growing immigrant community. Sure. So some of the estimates that we've seen, right? These are estimates. So, is that the Asian immigrant community will be the largest immigrant community by 2065. So it's
here in the United States.
Here in the United States.
Okay.
So 2065, right? It's a few years from now.
Years,
but it's a growing community, which is why I think it's so important to have a crystal clear view now of what's really happening in the community and what we're really facing, so that we're not putting on these rose-colored glasses, pretending everything's fine, and then 20 years from now we're caught red-handed, not prepared to face the challenges that people might be facing.
I'm glad you see that, because when we talk about the challenges, from my experience is a lot of the services that are available are not catered towards people from Asia and a lot of other minority groups, just because of the numbers.
Sure.
So when you talk about increase to it being the largest minority group, government, social services have a lot of room to catch up in the next 40
That's
years
right.
to make sure that they
That's
can
right.
provide those resources.
Well, and funders too.
Sure.
Because, the funding, philanthropic funding for the Asian community is 25 cents for every $100.
For every $100.
25 cents
Wow.
for every $100. So I'm getting these all from I think
But
it's
there's
Asian
huge
Americans in Philanthropy. I feel like I should quote them.
disproportionate giving.
Right, exactly. And I think that goes back to this idea of this model minority myth, and that, well, the
Asians are
community's
smart
fine.
and they're able and they're educated.
Right.
But then I think that also adds to maybe prejudice within the community for those who may not be
That's right.
educated and as well
That's right.
off.
That's right.
So you talked about issues earlier. You talked about education, you talked
Sure.
about language, you talked about cultural assimilation. Now let's go back to the work that you're doing as an
Sure.
organization. A new immigrant comes, has all these challenges,
Yeah.
not knowing how to navigate all these different
Yeah.
nuances.
Yeah.
What sort of help can they get at the Indo-American Center?
Well, so the first thing that's beautiful about the Indo-American Center is we are a welcoming community center that feels like home for people. So we speak 15 different languages
Your
on
team
staff.
does?
The team
Wow.
speaks 15 different languages. And West Ridge used to be Indian, right? Indian and Jewish, right? Now it's also Pakistani, but it's also really one of the few port of entry neighborhoods left in the city of Chicago. So when there is a sociopolitical crisis happening in the world, we feel it at Indo-American Center with the new people that are coming in. So if something's happening to folks from Myanmar, all of a sudden we're getting folks from Myanmar.
Syrian refugee crisis, Afghanistan, all those
Right.
things. Okay.
So we recently hired 2 folks from Afghanistan because we have so many more Afghani clients, right? So that's one thing, is you can go and chances are you will find someone that can speak your language. So that is number one, really important. And then we essentially do a full workup. So we figure out, okay, because sometimes people don't know what they need. They say, here I am. What do you got?
Help me.
Right. So we have a daily senior lunch program to help with the isolation that our seniors face, because that's a real problem. People maybe come over when they're young, and then as they get older, their kids start doing other things, and maybe they start feeling a little lonely, a little isolated. So we have a daily senior lunch program.
How many seniors do you have?
We have 80 seniors.
Every day?
We cook meals on site every day. We have
Wow.
2 amazing cooks. And we do home delivery for some and then have on site for others. We help people with immigration status. So we're really known for our citizenship. We've been doing that for the past 30 years. But recently we expanded to provide legal services to folks who are undocumented. And that's been really growing because we know this problem is increasing,
Yeah.
right? And then we have citizenship classes. We do mock interviews, helping people prepare. We have ESL classes, so we have 125 English students, English learning students, which really adds a lot of
At
vibrancy.
any given point?
Yes, well, yeah, that's the number of students we have. I think we have 88 as
What's
of
the average
today.
age of students?
It is a mix. It is a real mix from young to old, and it's all countries of origin. I mean, it is truly a real melting
That's
pot
really
of
great,
people.
yeah.
And then we also have our public benefits department. So that's more like general case management, helping people navigate all the different bureaucracies. So these are the jack of all trades people. They have to know a little bit about everything and really be resourceful to help connect people to stuff. Since COVID, we grew our public health department. So we started just doing vaccine education and vaccine clinics. And now we've really expanded where we're doing diabetes case management and intervention, because diabetes is a huge problem in the South Asian
We
community.
love our sweets.
We love our sweets, but also there's a lot of genetics to
No,
it.
absolutely.
Same with heart disease. So we're really working on our public health, both intervention, but also a lot of education. So we have community health workers it's a train the trainer model. So these are, students or aunties from the neighborhood. They get trained in all the different health information from our health partner. and our funder, and then they go out and spread the word and do the outreach because they've already they're a trusted messenger in the neighborhood. So that's been growing and really great. And then we have our regular community navigator program where, again, it's the same group of, it's different people, but the same concept of folks from the neighborhood that have relationships already that are trained on a variety of different things, and then they go out in the neighborhood and do training on Know Your Rights or other resources that might be available. I feel like I forgot one of our programs, and I'm going to really, someone's going to be mad at me.
Check out your website. You guys are doing such great work.
There's so much happening.
So
Someone's going to be mad I forgot something.
We're about out of time. I would love to know, before we wrap up, what keeps you going? What makes you want to wake up every day and do this work?
Yeah. So truthfully, one of the things that keeps me going is the vibrancy of the center. So we have about, now post-COVID, we have about 150 people in and out of our building every single day. So when you walk in and you see so many people that are so happy to be there and so, getting so much great support, the vibrancy really is what keeps me going. And having the honor to work with the amazing staff. I mean, they're putting in the hard work, they're troubleshooting constantly, and they're really dedicated, and that really gives me the energy to keep going. Like, I feel like it's an obligation I have to really help them in whatever way that they need so they can really shine and be successful.
That's awesome. Thank you, Angie. Truly a delight to have you on the show tonight.
Thanks.
We will be right back in a moment with our next guest.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Tune in for Behind the Confident Smile, available on CAN TV channels 19 and 21, and also available live streaming at cantv.org.
My next guest tonight is Sonam Mahindra, a remarkable lady who, shortly after her arrival to the United States, found much needed support from the Indo-American Center as she and her family navigated several hurdles in her new home. She appreciated the support so much that she started volunteering with them and later was hired as their parent mentor coordinator. Sonam, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting.
Of course, my absolute pleasure. Sonam, tell us your story. What brought you to the United States? When did you come to the United States?
In 2016, I and my family, we immigrated to USA from India. So as we came here, we just came to, there are not much opportunities in India. So we just came to the land of opportunities for the further better future for myself and my children.
We're going to come back to you. You said the land of opportunity. And when you came from India, did you come straight to Chicago?
Yes, we just came straight to the Chicago.
And what neighborhood did you live in?
So I do live in Divan, that is just next to the Indo-American Center.
Is that where you moved to right when you came? Oh,
yes.
Great, okay. And I know we were talking earlier, but share with me and the viewers again some of the issues you and your family faced.
There were many challenges, like me and my family have to face many challenges. The challenges were like immigration services, like where to go, who to trust, and then there was education system, how and where to get my children enrolled, and then there was a language barrier. Yes.
I know CPS does not make education that simple to navigate.
Yep.
And when you talk about language access, what was the big hurdle with that?
So with the language barrier, as I'm good in English speaking, but my husband, he is not good in English. But now he speaks very well. So there were some issues like I have to be always with him. This was a big language barrier issue with my family. Wherever he go, I have to go with him. So this was a big issue.
I think that's a big misconception people have. People, I think, assume India being a former British colony, that everyone speaks English.
Yes.
But you just said that your husband struggled when he first came here.
Yeah.
And so you had to be with him at every step for
Exactly.
that. Do you have issues finding housing?
That there was not such issue with housing, as I have some family members over here. So finding house, I got like easy in that way. Yeah.
How about integration into your community?
For this, I was really very concerned as I was with family, with little children. So I don't want my children just to get rid or just stay out of these, like from my culture. So I found out for this place, hey, where I can get like connected to my roots. I can find some people from my country or from my community. Then I found that this is the area, the Devon, that is called Mini India. So we just moved over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. And is it still Mini India for you?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Let's go now to the Indo-American Center. You found a home there. We heard from Angie just moments ago how you want to make sure you're a welcoming place, and it's the first place that a lot of immigrants go to, and they find a second home there. Were you able to find a second home there?
Exactly. So Indo-American Center. Indo-American Center is my extended family. They have given me a lot. So for example, my father was with me for a couple months as we all were going our jobs, children were in the school. My father was just isolated in the home. There was no one to talk with him. He was just getting into depression. So here comes another issue for me, like, hey, where should I go? Take him. So I came to know about Indo-American Center that they do have a program in which seniors are doing some activities. They are getting the delicious foods, like there were many adults, they were making friends, chit-chatting, doing lots of things. So I went over there. First I went myself, and then I saw environment over there. I felt like so good. So I took my father over there, and my father started over going to the center, and I got him registered to the senior program. Like there was this thing, like my depression was gone. Hey, I'm out of something. And then ISC helped me with some of the immigration services. They do provide immigration services. Yes. They did a lot for me.
No, that's wonderful. I remember when my grandfather, before he passed, lived with us out in the suburbs. He would sit home so lonely. There was nowhere for him. He couldn't drive a car. He was stuck in the suburbs. My parents were all at work. We were at school. And I wish now, hearing about this from both you and Angie, that we lived closer to the city so you could have found this community and that. That's so wonderful that he was able to find that support. They help you navigate immigration issues.
Yes.
You said. Did they help you navigate the school system?
Yes.
And then how about language access? Was your husband able to find classes at the Indo-American Center?
So for him also, yes. We took some online classes from the ISC. Yes.
And did you find them valuable?
Yes, exactly.
Better than Babbel or Duolingo?
Yes.
Okay.
Now he's a great, like, he speaks better than me.
Oh,
yes, he don't
wonderful.
need me now.
You should have brought him with you as well.
Yes.
So you love this so much, you started volunteering with them. What did you start doing with them?
So I started as a volunteer in ISC. In Indo-American Center, they welcome the diversity. They never discriminate a person on from where or what you are. They welcome that diversity. They actually believes in diversity. That was the atmosphere that I liked a lot. I started as a volunteer over there, and now I'm a coordinator of a program called Parent Mentor.
Can you tell us some more about that, please?
Yes, so this is a program in which we do hire parents from our community. They go to the schools and help in the classrooms. So basically in this program, we are trying our best to unite the local community parents with the school to grow together.
And how many parents do you have?
I do have 7 parents at this time, and that parents, some of them are the women who have never went out of their houses. So they were just busy in their families. As you know, Asian parents, they just want their children they actually live for their children's dream. So these women were just sitting home, and ISC had made their dream come true as we just hired them. It's their first job, and they are doing an amazing job.
Oh, they bring
Yes.
them out of the house, teach them some skills, bring them
Exactly.
out into the communities.
Yes.
Also wonderful. Why are organizations like IAC so important to immigrant communities?
To build healthy relationships, to bring out the cultures to bring out our community. Like especially the women's, they are just busy in their home chores. They are doing nothing. Their life just gets stuck. It's not easy for South Asian families to do everything. So this is really great. So they are just not only giving to the parents, they are providing us the immigration services, they are providing us the ESL classes, then they do have the senior programs. They are doing a lot. We need these types of organizations. Yeah.
That's so great. I'm so proud that you were, and happy that you're able to find a home in IAC. You have 2 young children?
Yes, I do have 2 young children.
If you could tell them something to inspire them to work on behalf of the communities like you do, what would you tell them?
So I will tell to every child, hey, just do something, try to give back to your communities as much as you can.
Why is that so important?
That's important. As if right now I'm giving to the community, I want my children to give. I want other people also to come out. It's even just like we want each other connect really together. We want to bring out the togetherness. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Sonam, I thank you so much for joining us on Change Agents tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Of course. We'll be right back with this week's Change in Action.
I'm Melissa Donaldson, and I like to call myself a curious boomer. Through that curiosity, I have found that when we engage with people from different generations, we are more alike than we are different. On Generation Flex, we will discuss the day's most interesting topics and discover each other's unique perspectives together. Join us Mondays at 7 p.m. on CAN TV 19, cantv.org, and on the new CAN TV Plus app.
In this week's Change in Action, we will meet Sarah Chowdhury, the president of the South Asian Bar Association of Chicago. For the past several years, the Bar Association has been volunteering with the Indo-American Center to offer a monthly pro bono legal clinic to its community members.
My name is Sarah Chowdhury, and I am the president of the South Asian Bar Association of Chicago. We are a volunteer association of South Asian lawyers and judges within the broader Chicagoland community. One of the goals of SABA Chicago is to provide community support and legal services to the broader South Asian community at large. So in 2006, we partnered up with the Chicago Volunteer Legal Services and the Indo-American Center to create the Syriac Capital Legal Clinic. The Indo-American Center provides necessary tools such as the technology and the equipment, the actual space, and the client intake. Chicago Volunteer Legal Services provides attorney training, and SABA Chicago provides the attorneys to make the clinic possible. We provide services in the form of domestic abuse, family law matters, education law matters, criminal expungement, immigration, and wills and probates, and any other matters that our clients may need. The goal is to provide quality legal services at no cost to those who otherwise would not be able to afford them. These clinics happen every 3rd Saturday of the month at the Indo-American Center. SABA Chicago looks forward to working with Chicago Volunteer Legal Services and the Indo-American Center and all of our volunteer attorneys in making this legal clinic happen.
Thank you, Sarah, and to the South Asian Bar Association for volunteering your time in supporting the broad legal needs of our immigrant communities. Thank you also to Angie, Sonam, and the Indo-American Center for being a much-needed pillar of support for recent immigrants and community members who need guidance and comfort as they navigate integration into their new homes. President Barack Obama said, "My fellow Americans, we are and always will be a nation of immigrants. We were strangers once too. We, our ancestors, we all took so many different paths to come to the United States, to Chicago. The struggles of our neighbors are our struggles. The issues facing one affect us all. We may not understand or realize what issues they are facing, but like the Indo-American Center and my guest tonight, I urge us to extend a hand in compassion, in solidarity, and in support of those in need. Each of us has the ability and responsibility to positively impact the lives of those around us. Each of us can be change agents. Let us all be change agents. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you next week.